I usually try to underpromise and over-deliver, but I will tell you that the sporting class that David Samson does with John Skipper and Pablo Torre has more good sports business information per square inch than anyone doing it anywhere that I have heard. If you really want some expertise on what's happening in business, he also has his own podcast. The Sporting Class is coming out tomorrow with John Skipper, David Samson, and Pablo Torre. And you guys have covered the NBA rights fiasco here for a while, and I want to ask you some specific questions, but I also urge the audience to go to Nothing Personal, the podcast he does live and daily at 8 a.m. every day on DraftKings Network. So I want to ask you specifically, though, about the mess that they have on their hands where TNT, initially, the CEO of everything that's being run over there, said don't need to have the basketball rights. And now everyone's fighting for the basketball rights, and Charles Barkley is calling his bosses fools for not solidifying this. Can you tell me a short answer, or as much as you can, given how much we're talking about here, what has been botched the most, and are you at all surprised that basketball with declining ratings is going to get a giant number?
You are going to love the show that we release tomorrow. So I'll try to really sum this up in 60 seconds and tell you, I, for one, don't think that Turner has botched this at all. I think when he told his investors that he didn't need the NBA, he was serious and he was right. And I think that Adam Silver has played it just fine. They've got plenty of bidders. They'll have a package with NBC, Amazon, and ESPN. And Charles Barkley is going to be fine as well. I appreciate that he's upset having to change networks, but I also assure you it's all going to work out for him as a free agent. So all of the negativity around basketball leaving Turner, it will disappear within moments of hearing the music at NBC. So I think this is truly much ado about nothing.
Really? So you're telling me that there was nothing botched here in the losing of basketball?
We had quite an argument on Sporting Class. No, remember, he answers to investors. We're talking about David Zaslav. We're talking about Warner Brothers Discovery. We're talking about a company with a huge amount of debt, crippling debt. We're talking about a package that may not actually make money. We're talking about the ability to get out of deals that were huge deals signed with the inside of the NBA crew. We're talking about share price that has been stagnant. We're talking about a much bigger business than the NBA, and that is Warner Brothers Discovery. So he is the chairman of all of it, not just Turner Sports.
Without spoiling what it is that you guys did for tomorrow, because I didn't know that a huge argument broke out, you are voicing something I have not heard. Is it about that? Is it about you saying that this is of no harm to TNT, which doesn't have anything like this on its menu?
Yes, this is it. And we also talk about ratings, where you spend a lot of time on your show, as do so many other people, talking about where the ratings are and are they up and are they down. And we try to uncover the truth behind ratings, which is no one actually cares when they're about to write a check or selling the rights to their league. Ratings never come up in negotiations.
You have mentioned that before, and the TV rights deals are what's funding everything in sports. I thought that the reason that Mark Cuban got out, Mark Cuban, who's got a great love of basketball and has a great instinct for financial things and what the future will look like, I thought the reason that he got out on this thing that he most loves is because Luka's now up for $350 million. Kyrie's up for 200 something else million on max deals. And he's saying to himself, this isn't sustainable. I'm getting out before the next rights deal. And now I see dollars with this rights deal that I was not expecting.
Yeah, Mark Cuban knew very well what the rights deals would be going forward when he made this deal. As a matter of fact, the valuation for the Mavericks was based upon what the revenue would be coming to each of the NBA teams. He is no fool. I think that it's far more about estate planning, but I don't want to get too far into that. But a lot of owners sell teams for estate planning purposes. And Cuban was not taken by surprise, nor was any owner. In baseball, we were directed years in advance what the new TV deals would be, because we do projections for payrolls based on what revenue would be coming from the league.
You have said before around here that ratings don't matter. Just for the audience, can you explain why it is that this does not matter?
Because what companies do when they are trying to acquire content, they are trying to justify subscription revenue. Back in the days of cable with regional sports networks, you had to get people to subscribe to your, whether it's Spectrum or Optimum, pick a cable company. And what you did is you would pay $9 a month and you would get a channel, or $50 a month and you would get a tier of channels. And these channels had to be on cable, and the cable company needed to buy these channels, and the channels needed to buy the content. Do you get it? All the revenue was flowing upstream. Nobody talked when we did a Marlins TV deal. Hey, do you know only 20,000 people watch your games? What Fox said to us, or Cablevision, is we need something on Fox Sports Florida, and we're willing to pay you blank based on the amount of subscribers who have Fox Sports Florida. And the reason the regional sports networks went bankrupt is that all of a sudden people were cutting the cord. They were only paying for what they want. And when you do that, there's not enough money to spread around. That's why the entire TV landscape has changed. And that's why a la carte has happened. But the irony, which we love to talk about, is that now they're bundling everywhere again, where if you get Hulu or Disney, or you can get Max also, and you're combining all of these networks. So it's really quite funny. We talk about that tomorrow too.
So David, do we have enough of an idea? Power through that one. Do we have enough of an idea of where the revenue is going to come from, so that this is just another TV rights deal? Or is it something that this is more significant than that? Because right now it seems to me that if they weren't losing Turner, not too many people would be talking about this.
I think it's more because of inside the NBA. I try to remind people that David Letterman moved from NBC to CBS, and people were shocked at that, but it was the end of a contract, and NBC didn't want to pay the price, and he didn't get the job he wanted. There's a whole show about the late night wars, but he ends up on CBS and keeps going, and everything's fine. There was a time when the football, NFL changed networks, and it ends up being just fine. People will be used to finding the Sunday night game on NBC. They'll be used to the new announcers, maybe coming back some of the old announcers. I really don't think Adam Silver even gave this a thought. And there's a lot of talk about he's angry with Turner for saying we don't need the NBA. That's all horse hockey. It's all based on what the bids are and what is in the best interest of the NBA. And they want games on NBC.
Can you explain to me, when you say that everyone's overbidding, that it's very possible that none of them will make their money back, that it'll be a losing money proposition? Can you explain to me why that's okay?
It's only okay when you don't have an asset and you decide to overbid to get the asset. And then you live with it for a while and you say, wow, the shine is gone. The juice is no longer worth the squeeze. You've seen networks lose money. Fox is a great example when they got into the NFL. It was an absolute money-losing proposition, but it was like a loss leader to build up their network, to bring attention to The Simpsons, frankly. And eventually it worked, and then they're able to allocate revenue to make different deals look okay. Turner said to themselves, there's no way to put lipstick on the pig anymore. We're losing money on this deal. Or what was it, Dan? Breast enhancements on a corpse?
Yeah, that's what I called. Yeah, that's what I called.
That's what you called me.
Not you. I called the Pudge Rodriguez signing that eventually led to.
And then
he
held that
Series.
ball up, Dano. And then what?
That's
Don't
right.
you look foolish? Right here, like
Yes,
What a wreck.
Yes,
Would you have used that expression in today's world?
I don't know. It's pretty funny.
It was very funny. I just think
Play
you
on
don't
for
have
me.
the guts to have used it today.
Well, I mean, why not? It was a really epically bad prediction to say the signing of Pudge Rodriguez was like putting breast implants on a corpse and then watch you win the World Series. Like
It's about as bad as it gets, Dan.
and that's not a great moment for me. And yes, Tony, with Pudge Rodriguez holding the baseball as JT Snow has collided into him.
Like an implant, he held it.
No. What?
It was like that.
No.
I've never held an implant, but I'm pretty sure no.
No.
I mean, it's more squishy, but
No.
where were we?
No.
Dumpster fire. Did you copy my word of the day, your graphics people, today?
I did not. What is dumpster fire? Why do you make your word of the day on nothing personal more than one word?
because today it had to be about the Mets. I had to use dumpster fire, and I'm watching your show live this morning because that's the best way to watch you is live. But you can catch yourself on DraftKings Network starting at 11 after Nothing Personal. And you had a graphic saying the Mets are a dumpster fire, and that was my show for 25 minutes this morning.
Well, we did talk about the Mets a lot. What were your most interesting observations from everything happening there? You're delighting in this happening to Steve Cohen. You're a hater. You're look at you. Look how happy you are. No, you can't. What,
He's beaming,
look
Dan.
at him. He's radiant. He's post-coital. Look at him. It's unbelievable. What are you doing?
Post-coital, I cry.
You're what?
And apologize.
Every time?
Sorry. So bad and short. I'm old.
Just put it on the poll. Are you surprised that David Samson cries after sex?
I'm sorry I went so hard on those implants.
The reason why I am glowing is that everything that happened to Steve Cohen yesterday that you all are going to talk about on all of your shows, none of it actually matters to him. The worst part about yesterday is that his whole casino effort called Metropolitan Park in New York City, near the chop shops, near his ballpark, it got screwed. And that's what's bothering him the most today. Not Lopez or Alonso or Diaz with his phantom BS injury. His huge multi-billion-dollar deal is going to be flushed down the toilet by a state senator named Jessica Ramos.
Look at how happy you are. You're so happy that this is failing. You are such a radiant hater.
No, I'm just a radiant pragmatist. I think that I don't like the press conferences where, hey, we have a done deal here, and they just the onus just does it. Owners do it all the time. I did it in Montreal. That's how I know about it. You hold a press conference to say that something's going to happen when you're not sure that it's actually going to happen, but you want to fake it till you make it. And then you realize, uh-oh, we're not going to make it.
When you said I'm so short, was that a triple entendre?
I try to do things always in triple entendre. Thank you, Izzy, for being here.
Yeah, short and old is how he described his penis. That's how I heard it. The Mets, that's what you found most interesting, though, of everything that happened yesterday? Because they demote Jorge Lopez. I don't know what your rules are for.
They designated him. They didn't demote him. Designated for assignment. That means he either has to be traded, released, or waived after a period of time.
What's that correction? What's that correction?
Did he go to a lower level or no?
No, not necessarily. And he still will get paid his guaranteed deal. But anyway, go ahead.
No, well, what did you make of it? He throws his glove into the stands and then in his second language says a bunch of stuff that required clarifications that were not very helpful in clarifying.
I just wanted to know where the translator was. It's CBA requires the translator to be there. Maybe he or she was with Diaz at the time, but you cannot let Lopez speak to the media without the translator there, getting the clarification, making it clear, and doing it again for clarification in English doesn't count. I want it said in Spanish first language because then I want to designate him.
And then what, though? How does an organization handle all of that? The throwing of the glove into the stands. Some players can get away with that, not this one.
Yeah, you have to be way better, and you have to have a longer-term contract. You have to be paid way more money. You know, we let certain players get away with more based on their salary and based on their performance on the field. Lopez, definitely not worth it. We would go in to meet the manager. We'd tell the manager what we were doing. We'd call the owner, tell him what we were doing, and then we'd meet the player and designate him immediately.
Two women are suing Jacksonville kicker Brandon McManus, and they are alleging that he sexually assaulted them during the team's overseas flight to London. These are documents obtained by ESPN. What can you tell me about charter flights, how to protect flight attendants, how to avoid everything that happened here?
There's a rule in baseball when I got into baseball that the front office does not walk to the back of the plane. And I violated that rule and I changed it. And I wanted the front office. I would do laps on team charters. I knew that Randy Choate had a briefcase with alcohol when we didn't allow alcohol. I knew the gambling that was going on. I knew everything that was going on back there at the back of planes. And there is stuff that goes on. And the reason why I wanted to be a part of it is I never wanted there to be issues like that, because it's very much like a fraternity. Some after a loss, after a win, it doesn't matter. When you're on the team plane, no one would know the difference, whether it's an overnight flight or not. there is a lot of action going on, and there's different sections of the plane. There's places where players sleep. There's places where players play, and everybody knows which section is which. This is very normal and common. And so I would like those things not to happen, and I would try to protect them from happening. And we would speak to the flight attendants in advance. We'd speak to the players in advance to avoid these situations, to explain what is respectful behavior, what we expect from them. And we did not have an issue with that with the Marlins or the Expos, and I'm thankful, but we would take it very seriously if we did.
What is the movie that you're reviewing for us this week?
Can we talk about Civil War? Tell me that somebody has seen that in the container.
I have not seen it. Mike Ryan saw it and wasn't a huge fan. I am a fan of most things that A24 does, and I was told that this was exceptional. I was told that it was a good movie for our times, but I have not seen it yet.
Yeah, I found it to be mediocre. I love Kirsten Dunst. I do love A24 movies. The concept of the movie is that 2 states, maybe 3, you can guess which, have decided that succession is the way to go. Succession is the way to go, and there's a war. It's what everybody says could be coming. It's why people buy canned peas right now. And it's really, from a journalist standpoint, how do you chronicle a war that is on your soil, and what impact does it have? And I found it to be overbearing, overwhelming. I found it to be sad, but not scary. I found it to be so out of this world that I didn't think it was even possible. Well, the message of the movie is, look out, folks, we're heading this way and we're heading there now. I felt like they could have done way better script, a better ability to tell the story. And all I could do while watching the movie was say they really missed an opportunity. And I don't know if we have time. I don't know what the time is, but I came up with a top 5 list about the movie, though.
All right, let's do it. What is the top 5 list? What is the subject matter?
Billy, I got a top 5 for you.
Okay.
And it's a funny one. It's the top 5 laws that cease to exist in a dystopian society in the midst of a civil war.
One of your greatest fears, right? Lawlessness in a utopian society where you, old and short and crying after
Dystopian,
sex,
Dan.
have to fight for yourself.
David, would you just want to die in that instance to not have to deal with all of that?
I would go into my safe room and I'd have enough supplies for it to pass.
Wait,
and
hold
I
on a
would-
second. How long could you survive in your safe room?
Oh, for so long.
Really?
Yeah, weeks.
It's not that
More.
long.
More.
Yeah, weeks isn't that long. If the world's over, they're not going to rebuild it in a couple weeks.
Well, no one's coming after me. No one's going to hang out for weeks waiting for me to come out. I just needed to pass my doorstep. Keep in mind, I'm not there waiting for the nuclear winter to end.
Yeah.
Put it on the poll, please. Would you prefer to have a boat or a safe room in times of dystopian nature?
We know the answer to that.
We've got 60 seconds left. You got to bang through these. Number 5.
Polygamy. Marry whoever you want, however many people you want. Number 4, the antitrust exemption for Major League Baseball.
Just above
Gone.
polygamy?
3, larceny. Take whatever you want. 2, the waiting period for guns. Gone.
I don't understand this
Strange
list.
top 5 list.
World's
And the
over.
number
Last thing I
one
want is more
thing-
wives.
The number one thing, law that you do not have to obey in a civil war, traffic lights.
I'm so confused as to why it's specifically a civil war and why is baseball still
What
happening.
a strange list right here.
The antitrust laws? What?
It's the apocalypse. I need more wives. I need more guns. And hey,
I
what
wanna
are we
run red
doing?
lights.
What are we doing about that baseball antitrust exemption? See you later, Samson. Tony, 10 seconds or less. What's the video we're about to throw at
Dano,
you?
I went over to Las Vegas. Friends of the show, Chris Palmieri has Naked City Pizza. He named a Cuban sandwich after me. It was a 10-day Tony, and here it is.
What's up, everybody? We're here at Naked City Pizza for the return of Let's Eat. Finally, we are back. We're going to talk to Chris Palmieri, owner, operator, Buffalo Style Pizza. Let's go check it out. We're inside of the office bar right next to Naked City Pizza with the man himself, Chris Palmieri. Chris, big fan of the show. Thank you for letting me come out. Buffalo Style Pizza, what is it?
So we bake them up in a pan. Ours are all square, so it's a little bit thicker, but not like New York thin, and definitely not Chicago deep dish.
So we're gonna make a sandwich.
Yeah.
We're gonna make a pizza.
We should make the 10-day Tony, man.
We're gonna dominate right now.
We're gonna do it all.
Let's go. All right, so we got the black gloves on. We're in the kitchen.
It's official.
It's official now. There's no turning back.
Nope.
I make pizzas at my house.
Okay.
But I need you to teach me to do it the Naked City way, the Buffalo way. I've never made a Buffalo style pizza.
All right.
But we're gonna make it. We're gonna make the Tende Tony. This might be a bestseller here. I don't know.
Never know.
You never know. What the ingredients are gonna be: pepperoni, pineapple, and the secret ingredient, bacon.
All right. You're gonna put your sauce first. That's our Naked City red sauce. You just want to spread it all over. Don't be afraid, man. Just get in there.
A few moments later.
You've seen better pushing skills, huh?
I would have been done in the oven already, but it's all right. All right, now we're gonna do the same thing with the cheese. Mozzarella, actually made in Buffalo. It's kind of, you know what I mean? Just like you're throwing salt on a steak or whatever.
Oh, see, he's got the two-hand action. Oh,
Usually we're making like 10 of these at
the
once.
two-hand action, dude. No wonder.
All right, so now we can go ahead and top it. It's a good looking pie so far.
Come on, man.
And then with the pineapple, you don't want to go crazy heavy on this because again, it's gonna, because of the acid and everything and the sugar, it's not gonna let the other stuff brown as much.
One right there, one right here.
And then we always finish all our pizzas before they go in the oven with dry oregano.
The secret ingredient.
Now it's ready to go.
What's the hardest part about making a pizza, like Buffalo style?
The process of making sure you have enough dough 2 days from now and pulling it out at the right time, letting it proof, and so that way you cook it and it's a perfect pizza.
So, Chris, this is something that I am very familiar with, the Cuban sandwich. But you're doing it with a special spin. You're doing it on focaccia bread.
Yeah.
Why focaccia bread? Like, what drew you to this?
Something we started about 3 months ago. We worked on our own focaccia recipe. So every day we're baking this bread off, and now we're offering it as like a secret menu for Tony.
The Tende Tony, baby. So we're gonna hit it with the pork
Yeah,
first.
so that's just a roasted pork loin, marinated with some citrus, roasted off. So we're gonna hit it with the ham next.
Oh yeah, dude. Feels like I'm at home in my kitchen right now.
Right.
Like,
That's what it's supposed to
you
be like.
know,
Naked City, that's what we like. This. Now we're gonna go with the Swiss cheese
okay.
over the ham.
Okay. I like it. I like it. Shredded Swiss cheese.
Yep. So now you got your pickles.
Okay. Bam.
All right. Then your mustard.
Now brown mustard.
Brown mustard is a
love.
favorite of mine. All right.
So we throw that in the same
Yeah.
oven.
Go right in the oven, right in the brick oven.
Did you live in Buffalo? Came over here? Did you grow up in Vegas? Like, what's the reason why you're here?
Lived in Buffalo till I was like 22. Got a job on the Strip, a restaurant and a hotel. They moved me here. Wanted to do something on my own. Being a chef for so long, able to take what I did and turn it into this. And I felt the city needed some more good pizzerias, not just cookie cutter stuff and chain stuff, you know?
All right, Chris, we got the stuff out of the oven.
Yep.
We can't finish the Tende Tony pizza without adding a little bit of Mike's Hot Honey, which is the super secret ingredient. All right, so Buffalo style, we're not cutting it regular.
Yeah,
I
we're
know
not
New
cutting
Haven, you kind of cut it
triangles.
however.
Go right down the middle. Then you're gonna go down the middle on each side of those. So down the middle. And then you're gonna do 2 cuts the other way, kind of third. You know what I mean?
Ooh.
There you go. Now those are my 2 favorite. You get the
You're a
ones
middle,
with just
you're a
the,
middle
I like
guy,
the middle.
really?
Not that I don't like the crust. I like the crust too.
I'm a crust guy, so I'm like a corners
Yeah,
guy.
no, the corner. You get
that's-
4 corners.
That's
so,
to me right there.
yeah,
I love that.
absolutely.
And we got the Tende Tony,
Yeah.
the Cuban.
Now, so we got to cut up your signature sandwich. We'll give everybody a view of that. Here's the key.
Dude, I was literally just about to do that.
You the good focaccia.
It's the crispness.
Yeah,
of
you gotta make it
Tende-
nice and crispy on the outside,
Oh.
light, soft on the inside.
All right, let's go eat this.
All right, let's go.
So you were telling me that your brother actually owns a Naked City, a couple.
So we own them all together, but my brother moved out here a little over 10 years ago when we opened this location.
Is it cool to have your brother kind of doing the same thing?
Yeah, no, it's awesome. You know, growing up, he worked in pizzerias, stuff like that, but he never was a cook or a chef or anything like that. He was actually a postman. My father was a postman, my aunt, my cousin.
It's a family business.
Yeah, family business wasn't my thing, but he loves coming into restaurants when he comes out to visit, walk to everybody, how's the food, you can talk to anybody. Man.
Is that a cool thing to see your dad walk into a place that you've built and be like, man, this is what my sons do. Like, this is so cool.
Yeah, I mean, you can see how happy he was when he used to come visit me on the Strip. Now we brought it back to Buffalo too. So we started it here in Vegas, Buffalo style pizzeria. And then we just opened one in Buffalo last summer. Literally build it from the ground up and then see how happy he is. Like, it's awesome.
You said you're a middle guy. You got to get your middle slice.
I'll let you grab one first.
I'm a corner guy. Right here has been calling on this guy right here. Got a nice little pepperoni. Down the cup pepperoni down. Get a little spice with the hot honey.
A little sweet for Nani.
Mm.
Some pineapple.
The real Tende Tony. Here it is.
All right.
Cheers, man. The brown mustard, the focaccia bread, the pork loin, like everything is on the track of Cuban, but still far enough away from it that it provides like a different taste. Dude, everything is excellent. You guys need to come down here, Naked City Pizza in Vegas, institution. Big fan of the show, big fan of yours. Chris, thanks for hanging out, man.
Thanks for coming down.
5, 4, 3,
Swedish team.
2, 1.
Sorry for her.
Yeah, she's perfect that way. That what she just did there, she's been doing to me, and she doesn't do it on purpose. And you're going to keep all of that in, me counting us in and her just ignoring the count. How are you not better at this yet, Mina? You're excellent at the doing in general of television, but the timing and mechanics of things you simply refuse to respect.
You're not a real radio show anymore. You have editing capacity. Things don't always come out. It's not in real time. I don't have to respect your radio boundaries when it's like radio cosplay now.
Not true, because I'm counting down to an entire video team that is waiting for my countdown to assemble. And when you talk during it, you're the only one who does that.
It's Veritas. It makes people feel like they're in the room with us. I bet people like it. Put it on the poll.
Oh, I will agree with that. They will like anything that annoys me around here. The entire currency and economy around here is built around annoying me.
A lot of stuff these days annoy you.
Ain't that the truth? I've got a number of different things to ask you about, but before Charlotte leaves here, I want to get into. You got caught in the rain. It was unpleasant. You guys just talked about it, and I want to know how Mina feels about your assessment of being caught in the rain.
Well, here's the thing that we talked about this. There's a whole song. If you like pina coladas and getting caught in the rain, and first of all, I was like, I've gotten caught in the rain 3 times in the past month. Who likes getting caught in the rain? Secondly, what a weird thing to have be the number 2 priority in a partner. You're like, not someone nice or funny. It's like, no, I want someone who likes getting caught in the rain.
It is oddly specific.
And then you have to hate yoga. I don't know, Mina. Do you like getting caught in the rain?
I think that there's a pretty important distinction here, as it depends on the kind of rain. Getting caught in the Seattle or San Francisco rain is miserable. Being caught in tropical rain, which I guess is sort of implied by the pina coladas, is delightful, like in Hawaii or Miami at times, if it's warm rain.
But you still you're soaked, and then you have to change, and then your hair, and then it's a whole thing.
One time I was ziplining in St. Kitts in a rainforest, and it started raining mid-line, and I thought it was incredible.
Okay, that sounds nice.
Wait, let me ask you this. Are
Also
you
dangerous.
an umbrella person or a raincoat person? Because
raincoat.
Okay. That's a very northeast, northwest thing.
Dork.
I'm broken. All right. I have to go record Oddball. You guys are making fun of me.
See you later.
Great to see you,
Let me
Mina.
get my raincoat. Like,
Thank you.
All right.
What?
Okay, I'm out of here.
I've lived in Miami my whole life. I've never carried either of those things, and it
Tony,
rains here all the time.
Tony, you burst out laughing. You sent her from the room. She just fled because you laughed at her putting on a raincoat.
It's like a yellow rubber raincoat. Like if you're the fisherman, Gordon's fisherman from the
Pulls
fish
a
sticks.
poncho out of her back
Like,
pocket.
you have, like, a
This is regional. This is regional. People in the Northeast and the Northwest wear raincoats, and they look down on people with umbrellas. People in the southern half of America are more likely to use umbrellas and very unlikely to own raincoats. Have you ever seen someone in Miami with a raincoat?
No.
It doesn't make sense, though. There's no reason. It's the same rain. I guess the other side, aside from the temperature.
How about rain boots? Is that a Northeast
everybody
thing?
in the north, yes, and the Northwest. Everybody owns rain boots in the northern half of America.
Piso
And in
fango.
Seattle, people make fun of people who use umbrellas. Like it's like a sign of weakness, I guess.
I mean, the umbrella. Let's evolve the umbrella, shall we? Like, are we all stuck?
There's been evolutions of the umbrella. They have umbrellas now that they fold. They go like this. Instead of going down and then you get all wet, they go and they go the opposite way, and then the water goes out. Yeah.
Dan, umbrella is number 5 on my list of things that I don't understand why society has not improved upon.
Oh, wow.
So
All right.
yeah.
Let's do we got a top 5 list? All right. Well, we've already announced number 5.
It's a work in progress.
So give her the fanfare for number 5. She just announced number 5, Billy. Things that you would have thought would have progressed more by now.
So number 5 is umbrellas.
Number 5 is umbrella. Number 4.
Car seats. What's the deal? Why putting my kid in a car seat somehow, no matter how it's oriented, every single time is like wrestling a bear, and the straps are always too tight or too loose. They're never exactly right. I've never seen a car seat that's easy to use and comfortable. Parents?
I think we evolved too far on car seats. Simpler was easier. Like, how many kids died in car accidents? I don't actually want to know the answer to that, but I feel like a simpler car seat would be a lot easier,
What are
right?
you doing?
Guys, we've evolved. The kids used to not have any seat belt. They're just like, yeah, throw them back there.
That's
It's fine.
true. There's
We
still
used to all be
countries today.
facing front, right? Am I misremembering that? Now car seats, you can't face the front. Kids got to face away from me, which makes
Certain
them
weight,
even madder.
yeah, certain
Kids
weight.
can't sit in the front anymore. They can't smoke. Kids can't do anything.
Exactly.
I wonder when the car seat was invented. Were there like babies in the front seat with a seatbelt just sitting there like before it was
No
invented?
seatbelt, Dan.
I never spent any time of my life in a car seat, ever.
Wait, what did you do as a baby? Were you just rattling around in the back like a loose peanut or
I
something?
do not remember what I did, but I know my parents did not have a car seat. That did not come up until the fourth child in my family.
There's actually like crazy like those old videos that you see like on Twitter or Instagram or whatever that looks like it's like History Channel stuff of like war era children, and like you have to see what they use as like strollers and car seats at the time. Like they would have like basically like a stick with a wheel on it, and then you'd fold down a little seat and it had a handlebar, and it's like, kid, you need to sit there and hold on, and that's how you're gonna get around. That was a stroller.
Great generation.
Kids are soft, like Fred Hoiberg.
Number 3.
Okay, this is very specific, and it's something that I added to the list while I was at the dentist. But whenever you go to the dentist and you get your teeth x-rayed, they jam a giant piece of plastic into your mouth that cuts your gums, and every single time I'm like, why is this better? Why are we
They're like, bite down harder. I can't. It's digging into the roof of my mouth.
How in 2024 do we not have something better than the giant hunk of plastic they shove into your gums that cuts your gums? That's all I'm saying.
I got to tell you, though, Mina, I just changed from an old school dentist to a super modern dentist, and all of a sudden I feel like I'm going to the spa when I go to the dentist. It doesn't have any of that.
How does your old school dentist feel about that?
Not great. I feel some shame. It's an old Cuban.
Oh, you
wow.
could have.
Turning your back on our people.
You should have
once
waited
again.
it out, Dan.
I couldn't.
Really?
It was just, there were too many things going wrong. Number 2.
Okay, number 2. How do we not know how old dogs are? I don't know if anyone has adopted a dog and you bring in the dog and you ask the vet, do you know how old this dog is? And I don't know. It's like, when you cut a tree and you can count the number of rings. How is there not something like that for, I don't want you to cut a dog in half, but they should be able to look inside a dog and tell you this dog is 12 or 13. Once we took our dog, Lenny, to the vet, and the vet took one look at him and said, yeah, he's 4 years old. And I said, that might be true if I hadn't had him for 10 years.
I can't believe that this is a worse top 5 list than David Samson's, which in a lawless society, he was just rooting for polygamy, more guns, and baseball's antitrust exemption
This list is
to
great.
be taken away. And no, your list is great until where you just got with number 2, which was just a stunning development. How do we not know how old dogs are? Number 1.
What does anyone disagree with me about the dogs? Before
No, I've
I
actually
reveal
had this
number 1?
conversation before, Mina, and I even made the "don't cut the dog in half" joke before.
Wow.
From the woman who said Seinfeld's not funny. Don't cut your dog in half. Okay.
King Solomon.
By the way, that aged well, Dan. Okay, question number 1.
You said you started a sentence with "What's the deal?" I thought you were doing Seinfeld.
Car seats. Am I right, parents? Okay. Number 1, again, this is the one where I cannot believe, and this list is on my phone, and basically I add to it every time I encounter these problems in my life. The dentist, the vet. Number 1 is at the airport. How is airplane boarding protocol not better? How will we not solve this? How do we still have people getting on at the wrong time, standing in the way of lines? Why do we have flight attendants who permit people to board out of their designated groups, which encourages the bad behavior and slows up the entire process? The whole thing is an unbelievable mess, and I just can't help feel it does not have to be this way.
The problem, I think, with that is like classism and ego, right? Because the best way to board a plane is last row first. So you board back to front, but the prime seats are in the front, and they want to get on first so that they have the overhead space and they're not bothered and all that. But like if you're doing it for efficiency, you do it back to front, because then everyone, like last row first, everybody kind of do it that way.
It used to be that way. At least I remember it was.
Preach, Izzy.
Back in those days when there were no car seats.
And kids could smoke.
You had
yeah.
the Escalade. You would just walk up the stairs. There's the stairs in the front, stairs in the back. Where do you sit? Front or back? Go.
Some flights still do that. Some airlines still do that. The problem is what I alluded to, which is they don't actually enforce boarding groups uniformly. So people still try to board out of turn, or there's general confusion about whether or not you can board. Okay, here's the thing. This thing in my hand can tell me literally everything. Why not activate your boarding pass when you're allowed to board and deactivate it when you're not allowed to board?
I was going to go shot collars. Mina, but that is
Draconian
way
from
better.
you.
That's way better.
No, because the thing is like, do you want to hold up the line for everyone that cut the line? And then like, no, that delays it. So that's why the people that skip the line actually win, because it's like, well, I'm not going to make everybody wait because you're one
you
group
have to have
away.
a sin bin on the side. You have to have a place that shames them. If you're not here, you have to stay in this little telephone booth.
You can't shame them.
Or new protocol, if you board out of turn knowingly, you have to board last. Then your thing goes beep, 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 and you have to go. It's like at the Outback Steakhouse when they give you the thing that buzzes when it's your turn to dine. How do we not have that for boarding?
They're closing like
restaurant, you mean?
100 Outback Steakhouses. I don't know if you knew that. Get your bread
Like a
now.
restaurant buzzer? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, like a restaurant
Do
buzzer.
they only have them at Outback?
Well, no, she was just using Outback as an example. They're not exclusive to Outback. You can get
Look,
them all over the
who
place.
here has been in group 6 and gone in group 3? Who among us? Am I right?
You've been in
No,
group 6?
no. This is really
No,
a there's
group
two kind of
3, is
people
he?
discussion, and I feel like we're learning who's who just by the way you guys are reacting.
Tony.
You can tell a lot about what happens around here, but I would say that I think something you're doing there, if it's going to be about iPhones, there's some classism involved, right? Because not everybody has phones. You need everybody to have phones, or you're handing out buzzers?
Hand out buzzers.
Yeah, but what if you
don't-
keep the buzzer? Then there's no buzzer for the next person. People will steal anything, no matter how stupid it is. They'll steal those buzzers just to have it. Like, why do people steal 3D glasses at theme parks? You can't do anything. Life is already in 3D.
I would estimate probably 90% of people who are boarding now use electronic tickets, and the remaining 10% can pay attention to the screen when it's their time.
It's a good idea. You've got a good idea. Let's go
Thank
through
you.
a couple of things here, football related. You are so high on Jordan Love, it's annoying how much you want to talk about Jordan Love. Love conquers all. You want to. In fact, this is the most romantic you've ever been. You are constantly wanting to talk about the greatness of Jordan Love. You just drafted the top 10 quarterbacks on your podcast. Where'd you put him?
So I didn't put him here, but I would have taken him near here, which was he finished 5th. And it's a 3-year timeline that doesn't account for contract. By the way, I'm not obsessed. I just texted you twice, Dan. Twice I mentioned Jordan Love in text. It's fine. But I think it's deserving. And, you know, the rebuttal to that would be, well, he was awesome for half a season. Second half of the season last year, he finished top 2 in just about every quarterback metric, which is wild. QBR on first down, QBR under pressure, play against the blitz. He was incredible. So if you're a Packers fan, or I guess anyone, you might look at that and say, well, is that too small of a sample size to give him this $50-60 million contract? Because he really bet on himself contractually. And I think it's not, because I think he showed enough in that second half of the season for me to feel comfortable saying he is that guy. Couple of things really jumped out. One, you know, it wasn't like they were all easy, schemed up throws. He was making difficult throws. He was creating. He was pushing the ball downfield aggressively. And then the other thing that I think is really important, Matt LaFleur is a great play caller, and he played behind a good offensive line, but he was playing with the youngest group of skilled players in football. So you can look at the season and say, well, he was markedly better in the second half of the season. Maybe that's a small sample size. I would argue, of course, he was better in the second half of the season because his receivers were so young. Naturally, it took some of the season for everybody to get on the same page, find their roles and their chemistry. If I was a Packers fan, I would be over the moon with what you saw from Jordan Love last year. Going back and rewatching him, he is as good as I remembered.
She mentioned her podcast. It's the Mina Kimes Show featuring Lenny. It's got better football information than you'll find anywhere, so I urge you to find it. And she dorks out. She really does love this stuff in a way that's totally unreasonable. So when you draft him, or when he gets drafted 5th on your podcast, your assessment right now, if I say the best quarterbacks in the sport next year, how high are you just personally putting him, because what you've seen suggests to you that the Packers have an all-timer at quarterback?
I think just in a 1-year timeline as opposed to a 3-year timeline, I would say I feel like he's already a top 8 quarterback, which is wild to say.
And how fast are you expecting him to get better because of all the factors that you just cited? Like, where is he going to be? Because if we'd all be talking about this right now, Mina, if he had won one more game last year.
I know.
And
yeah,
if one more game had been won by him, he would not. Your effusive praise would be something everybody would have been saying.
I think generally there's a consensus that him and Stroud both arrived. Maybe it seems like people are a little bit higher on Stroud, even though they both, ended their playoff runs after a surprising win. I feel like if he plays this year like he did in the second half of last year, that we don't need to see him take another leap. He has already taken that leap. I am a little bit, when I think about regression on the part of the Packers, I'm actually a little bit more concerned about the players around him because they are so young. You don't have those top draft picks at receiver, but I really like what I saw out of them too. I think guys like Dontavian Wicks, Jaden Reed, it was seen as kind of this like ragtag group of receivers who weren't good enough for Aaron Rodgers, the ones who were with him on the team. And they were all playing really good football at the end of last season, which is a testament not only to Jordan Love, but also to Matt LaFleur, who I think is one of the best coaches in the NFL.
Mina, I think, you tell me if I have this wrong, I think that we're in such an interesting era in football because winning can be found in the margins and the salary cap makes it so you have to be smarter about how you're spending your money than others. So the analysis of the finances of the game are almost as intriguing as the measurements of the players. When the Dolphins give Jalen Waddle 3 years for $84 million, $76 million of it guaranteed, when they've got to get quarterback value, and they're not going to. They might get quarterback great play, but they're not going to get Tua cheap. What do you make of the Dolphins paying Waddle when Tyreek Hill is at least in Miami because Kansas City couldn't pay everybody?
Yeah, I think that it was a good deal for both team and player. Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase are about to dramatically clear this latest spate of deals. Waddle, Devontae Smith, Nico Collins all just got deals done that were all, by the way, 3-year deals, if I remember correctly, with Smith as well, which I think is interesting because that's sort of the compromise to the player. Yes, we're not, blowing up the wide receiver market knowing that these other guys are going to get paid. But as a concession, this is just a 3-year deal. You're going to have another bite at the apple pretty quickly. And by the way, that second bite is probably going to coincide with Tyreek Hill either, being off the team altogether or on his decline or out. His deal will be done by then. So you'll have the opportunity to sort of prove by the end of Tyreek's deal, you're the number one wide receiver in this offense, and then you're going to get paid an insane amount of money. So you can see why Waddle did it as well. I think to your question, though, Dan, about kind of contracts, it's one thing I've noticed, and I think there's a better understanding of this amongst fans who seem to now understand contracts at a much higher level than they did a few years ago. When you do these big deals, and I think this is something people gather when they're talking about, okay, if we pay Tua, et cetera, because the signing bonuses are so large, we can actually save money in the first 1, even 2 potentially years of the deal that allows us some cap flexibility to do other deals like this.
Tua, you do what with everything happening there? Jared Goff gets $50 million a year. He looks great in OTAs. It has been reported that he was unhappy with the initial contract offer. Is Tua about to become someone who's over Goff in payment? Can he just sit there and wait and become the second highest paid quarterback in the league behind Joe Burrow?
Well, it's so tricky because the Goff deal is a great point of comparison and actually they were drafted right next to each other in my quarterback draft, and I think of them as being pretty similar quarterbacks in that they're both able to execute these offenses at such a high level, play within structure. They're both so good when they're protected. They both get the ball out very quickly. They both struggle under pressure, and the Lions have this incredible offensive line, so it's not been a problem. Miami does not have an incredible offensive line, but the combination of the way Tua plays, the speed of the receivers, and the scheme that optimizes all those things mitigates the pressure. So you end up at a place, Stan, where Tua is more valuable in Miami than I think he would be on other teams. I think if he hit the open market, it would not be as desirable as, or I mean, he would not be, pardon me, as fought over as one might think. And I don't think in a way that's commensurate with his value in Miami. So if you're Miami, you're thinking, okay, well, why would I overpay this guy knowing that other teams might not pay him, over Jared Goff? And that's, I think, the tricky situation they're in. I think ultimately you probably are going to see a deal similar to what Jared Goff got. I think anything over that, I personally would be a little uncomfortable with.
Kenny Pickett, I thought it was a curious decision for him to choose Philadelphia. Then he gets to OTAs and people are saying, hey, behind that offensive line, he's making it look easy. He's outplaying Jalen Hurts during OTAs. I'm not saying that is so, but I have wondered how good Jalen Hurts is only because it feels to me like, the other 10 players on the Eagles, I've seen when they're really good and they make Nick Foles the Super Bowl MVP. So it makes it hard for me to measure how good Jalen Hurts actually is.
Yeah, and we're 2 years removed from Jalen Hurts being talked about as a rival to Patrick Mahomes, but our last memory of him, of course, is him putting a really bad performance in the playoffs and sort of the Eagles' offense imploding in the second half of last season. I think the reality is the truth was always somewhere in the middle, which is because of his situation, not just the offensive line, but the skill player, everything in Philadelphia. When Shane Steichen was the offensive coordinator, he was bolstered a little bit by that. I also don't think he's as bad of a quarterback as we saw at the end of last season. I think there's a few things he really has to improve upon. However, this coming year, for me to once again think of him as being in the top 10, he has to be significantly better against the blitz. He has to be better at throwing over the middle of the field. And then you'd want to see him be as dynamic a runner as he was in 2022, because he was really not last year. And that was actually a major issue and a source of a lot of the Eagles' defenses or offenses problems, because defenses didn't respect it the same way.
I was curious for your expertise yesterday when we were talking about, for content purposes, what is the best result for Aaron Rodgers and the Jets?
I think I saw a quote from Aaron about the fact that the Jets have so many Monday night games. And I think he said, well, people love to, I'm paraphrasing, but it was something like, people like to watch me to root against me or for me. And I thought, well, that's the first time I've agreed with you in a while, because I think that's true. I agree with him. I think he has become such a polarizing figure, and he, what he represents to people now goes outside of football, and obviously invokes culture war stuff in a way that I think adds this extra layer of intrigue to his success or failure. I don't think it matters, Dan. I think all that matters is that he plays and that it's interesting. And I'll say this, the Jets' schedule is, after the week 1 opener against San Francisco, it's really easy. You can go pull it up. I think that after that, they're playing rookie quarterbacks maybe in 3 of the next 4 games, and Will Levis, depending on when Drake May plays. And that Jets defense is as fearsome as ever. So I think what we are potentially setting up for here is 6 or 7 weeks into the season, the Jets having a 5-1, something like that record, frankly, regardless.
Hold on a second. When I did wins and losses Jets schedule yesterday, Dan kicked me out of the room. But now we're doing wins and losses with Mina for the Jets schedule.
Well, and
it's fine.
And you said the same thing.
The exact same thing.
You said the same thing.
And you go and you poop on God Bless Football and you say that it's not a good podcast. Is Mina going to talk to Adam Schefter's mom this week? I don't think so.
I did not say that God Bless Football was not.
I met her in an elevator on a cruise ship. Small world.
Where else are you getting that information?
Exactly right. I talked to an insider's insider.
I did not say that God bless. Well, he was inside her.
Dan.
Hey. Whoa.
Dan.
Oh, yeah.
Graphic.
Dan.
She gave birth to him.
Dan.
It's
Oh, wow.
breaking news.
Great timing. Dan, Mets relief pitcher Jorge Lopez has commented on the situation. He was designated for assignment after throwing his glove into the crowd. They then spoke to him.
Hold on.
He is taken to Instagram stories to comment.
Mina, do you know anything about this story?
This
is
news to me. What happened? He threw his glove into the crowd?
Let's play. Yeah, he threw his glove into the crowd, but let's just play the interview for Mina, if we could, real quick, so that people can have the context and Mina can have the context on what it is that happened with this story. Listen to this. He throws his glove into the crowd. He's unemployed after these comments.
Carlos Mendoza said that he understands the emotion, but that that particular action of throwing your glove into the stands was unacceptable. Looking back on it, do you regret doing that?
No. No, I don't regret it. I think I've been looking the worst teammate probably in the whole MLB. So, whatever happened. So, whatever they want to do it.
Well,
I'll be tomorrow here if they want me, whatever they want to do. So, I'm gonna keep doing this thing, So.
What did you hear there, though, Mina, though? Because as soon as I saw that interview, I felt bad for him because I'm like, oh, he's doing this in his second language, and I don't think he's using the right words. I don't think they understand what he's trying to say.
Yeah, that's a good point. My read on it was he was saying we were facing the worst team.
No, he was saying that they're the worst team, but is this news a clarification of that clarification?
Well, so what ended up happening, Mina, is people then started tweeting out that he said that he's on the worst team in Major League Baseball, and he was
We think that's what he meant.
He was designated for assignment. Then there was a clarification by a reporter, and he seemed equally as confused. And he's like, yeah, that's what I said. Well, he has now taken to Instagram stories because someone put a story out saying he said he's on the worst team probably in the whole effing MLB. And he said, quote, "Whoever hear me, I said teammate. And what I said on the situations, I've been the worst teammate. Thanks, media, for making it worse."
Oh, no. He was trying to say teammate? I'm the worst teammate?
He called himself the worst teammate because of how he's behaved.
It took me until the third time to hear it, but I heard
about
that.
him? How could he be talking about himself? If he said that I'm looking at.
They were up by, it was a 3-3 tie. They left, and I think it was like 8-3. So he blew the game.
Looking at the worst.
Yeah, he's the worst teammate.
Oh.
Yeah, now he's out of a job. And he said, "I'll be here tomorrow," but he's not because they said, "No, thank you."
All right, Mina.
And he doesn't have a glove now, so how's he even going to play on another team?
Mina, good seeing you. I'm sorry that breaking news interrupted your last thoughts.
Airplane boarding protocol. I just want change.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.